I think I'm muting most of the people, but if you see a little mute button on your right side, you can do it yourself. That way we can minimize background noise and we can hear the presentation. So without further ado, take over, Ferdy.
All right. Thank you very much. Hopefully everybody can hear me just fine, right? All right. Well, today, like Dahlia had mentioned, we're going to be talking about technology and the aging population. And I'm sure a lot of us here in this room today have at least some experience in dealing with the elderly who lives, at home, as well as elsewhere. But just a quick introduction about myself. I work for Philips Lifeline, and as most of you probably know, Philips is a global company. I happen to be fortunate enough to work on the home monitoring section where I have been dealing with the aging population and technological innovations for the aging population for the last 13 years. And so throughout my experience, I've learned a lot of new things and a lot of the things that I've also experienced through my own personal life and dealing with my own folks as they age in place. So today we're going to be talking about a few interesting things. Let's move the slide over. Oops, let's see here. There we go. So what we're going to be talking about today is talking about dealing with personal emergency response systems, in particular talking about fall detection. We also are going to be going into talking about GPS solutions with respect to folks who deal with people that wander, and as well as tracking solutions that are involved with these types of wandering devices. And then we're going to be discussing a little bit with what are some of the limitations and advantages to some of these devices that are out today. Also talk about what is the next in the latest innovation. I'm sure most of you have probably heard about a lot of the new things coming out. For fall detection, you've got these personal trackers that can be applicable to a lot of folks that we take care of at home. So let's start. So what are personal emergency response systems? Now, personal emergency response systems, or what we know in the industry as PERS, is literally here what you can see in front of you. These are devices that are actually attach or connect within your own existing phone line, whether that could be landline or wireless cellular solutions that enable an individual who lives at home to be able to call for help. And in most cases, the reason why they're using these devices is because they are unable to reach the phone, or for whatever reason, they're not anywhere close to a phone. Like say, for example, taking a shower or walking about in the backyard, or even elsewhere beyond the home. And so what you see in here are samples of some of these devices, both from a landline version as well as mobile cellular systems as well. They also come in many different shapes and sizes, different forms as well. And so the big debate actually that we've always faced within this industry is, which one is a better system, right? Is it landline, which is unfortunately starting to become a thing of the past? Though I would have to say it is a much more highly stable system with respect to personal emergency response systems because it's always connected. But there is an ongoing movement to move into mobile solutions because more and more folks these days are actually going into bundled services that are offered by, for example, AT&T and T and a lot of the big cable companies like Spectrum or Charter or Comcast. And so, we were forced, actually, as a company, when we first embarked on this journey, to look at certain solutions that would allow certain types of devices to become more mobile, utilizing cellular technology. So, but there's still a good majority of folks that we deal with, especially down in San Diego, in some of the little bit more remote areas where cellular service may not, be as stable. You will see a lot more folks still continue to use landlines, and part of the reason why is because for a lot of folks, utilizing mobile service, especially far and remote areas or where the topography is a little bit, different, it's that the connection is not stable. And at times, even if you can get a stable connection, the communication is a little bit more choppy. So you get kind of interrupted, and there's either static noise, and it kind of fades in and out. And then there are times where the call, while it is going on, it all of a sudden gets cut off because the cellular connection gets interrupted. In contrast, having a stable landline connection by far would still be the best bet. Though a lot of folks are moving into different methods now, unlike before, providing what is it called, fiber optic systems that could provide more clarity, utilizing digital technology rather than the older analog technology. And so, as you can see, still more people are utilizing it. As you can see in this chart here, 55% of landline owners, feel that they're much more connected, especially during an emergency. And so, what we're going to go through today is, show you what basic systems there are that still can utilize landlines, and also some personal emergency response systems that you will see out there, just like what I'm showing you here today, come at a much more minimal cost than the more improved versions of personal emergency response systems, or enhanced, if you will. So this particular device still connects into the landline. And unlike a lot of the newer systems that you will see out there, it does not require monitoring, which means that you can call for help by using this particular system, which really is nothing more than a simple dialing mechanism, but it does give you a little bit more mobility within the perimeter of your own house, similar to the way you would have extra handsets on your phone that are cordless, that would allow you to be able to call for help away from your original base station phone. And this one can be programmed to call just about anybody, including 911 or the paramedics or the fire department. And you can do as many as, I believe, 4 individuals, where you can choose who to call, or it can go from one responder to another, up to 4 that the machine can call should you not be able to reach the intended person that could respond to you. And obviously, being with it has no monthly fees. It is very economical for somebody who is on a fixed income. And then we go into a combination of both, where you will find systems out there similar to what we offer at Philips Lifeline, where you have a landline version, or you can choose to have a wireless or cellular version of a communicator that will provide you access to mobility solutions. So the button that you see in between these two little boxes is actually a button that can go beyond the home, because it has a cellular component that also works via a GPS technology that would allow not only for you to be able to communicate beyond your home, in fact, you can go across the U.S. with this button. It also provides you tracking solutions via the use of a GPS, which triangulates the signal from the phone, and then the GPS pinpoints the exact location. And so more and more of these types of technologies you're going to start to see. And then later on down the line in this presentation, I'm also going to be showing you wearable technology as well that offers a tracking mechanism that may or may not have a two-way communication component, but rather more so it's more like a strictly more of a tracking system. So, for example, if you're dealing with somebody who has Alzheimer's or dementia, for example, and it's not limited to just the elderly per se, but it can also be utilized for somebody who is much younger, like for folks, let's say, with autism or any other type of issues that a person may have that would allow them to be found if, for example, they stray away someplace. So these are the kind of technology you're going to be seeing today. It comes with multiple different types of locating technologies built in. Again, we talked about the GPS and that little blue teardrop right there. It also has now Wi-Fi accessibility, where the system can actually locate the Wi-Fi access point. It's not so much that the button can get the signal through the Wi-Fi, but it identifies where the Wi-Fi access points are. So similar to GPS, there's a lot of GPS out up in the sky. The GPS will pinpoint the location of the closest signal where that cellular device is. But the limitation of GPS is that if you're indoors, right, the GPS cannot see you because you're not in an open field. Whereas Wi-Fi technology is just about in any place else. You can be standing like right now where I'm at in my home office. I have Wi-Fi connection, so it can identify my Wi-Fi access point. Similarly, if you're in a public place like a Starbucks, for example, it'll identify that Wi-Fi access point, narrowing the pathway for you to be located. A lot of them now come with two-way communication. So in other words, I can talk to you, you can talk to me. You don't have to do anything as long as you're able to speak in close proximity of the device in itself. The other nice feature of this device is that it also comes with an audio beacon. Um, Later on down the line as well, I'm going to be showing you another tracking technology that relies on a beacon. But this particular device that we have actually encompasses just about all the different type technologies into one device, including we call intelligent breadcrumbs. And the technology, if you're not familiar, is really very simple. As I mentioned before, on the upper left, you'll see the GPS. It locates the button, and then towards the right of that, that little Wi-Fi signal that you'll see will also be accessible should the GPS is not available in order to track the actual destination and pinpoint the location of the subject that is being tracked. It then bounces into a cell tower that can be tracked via our call center, where we can pinpoint the actual location utilizing Google Maps. And then this particular device just so happens to come with fall detection technologies. So if you do happen to fall down, for example, let's just say, and you are unable to push the button to call for help, that system has its own accelerometer built in inside, where it has these sensors that can monitor, different, points where it changes the height relative to the ground, and also it can determine how fast an object is falling. And so, and then on top of that, there are different devices that do not require boxes anymore, or communicators that can be plugged into the home using a landline. There are mobile solutions that are strictly mobile now, where you just have to get the device in itself. And in this particular case, I'm sure most of you who live in San Diego are probably very familiar with Great Call, because it's a company that is based out in the Carlsbad area. This particular device actually does not use a box. It utilizes cellular technology that does two-way communication, and so it's very intuitive, very easy to use. It's also portable, and so a lot of folks, and you probably have seen this one being in the advertisements over at AARP quite a bit, as well as on TV. And then in contrast, again, Lifeline has a similar technology where there is no more communicator. It's just the button in itself. They call this one the GoSafe 2, which allows you to be pretty much anywhere. You push the button. This particular button has fall detection technology. It recognizes the fall and the impact. And within 30 seconds, if you don't move, it'll actually call for help automatically. And then at that point also, it's also looking at your location to pinpoint where you are. And then in the last presentation that I did, we actually had been asked, what about other solutions that are designed to track my loved ones, right? Because I've dealt with a lot of folks, at least in my business, always asking me, but my mom or my dad won't be able to use these types of buttons or the phone because they cannot remember to either push the button to call for help or let alone dial the phone. So what are the types of other solutions that are out there that can help me track somebody if for whatever reason they happen to stray away or they needed help and I cannot be there to assist them? Well, based on my research, and I did quite a few of it, we found like 10 products actually, and there's a couple of these products that actually are made by the same company, but just being labeled under a different name. So you may not see all 10, but there's at least 10 top ones that are favorite of a lot of folks that are out there. So a company called Angel Sense is a company that initially devised a technology that is designed for initially for kids, kids with autism. And they devised this little gadget, and as you can see, this is an iPhone 4 and iPhone 5, and it's almost half the size. And this black thing is a two-way communicator. It's just maybe smaller than your basic credit card, and maybe just twice the thickness of a number two pencil. So it's not very big. It's really designed to be compact, and it comes with GPS. And the beauty of this particular device, it does come with a voice monitoring solution, so you can actually hear when the device obviously is on and in somebody's either pocket or attached to them, utilizing either a belt clip, or they've also devised a clothing line where it comes with pockets where you can actually stick this particular device inside, so you can actually hear and even speak to that person if for whatever reason, say for example, you have somebody who's a wanderer because they have dementia, and like my own dad, for example, he straight away one time walked about 2 blocks, ended up at a supermarket. I kept calling him on his phone, but he wouldn't answer the phone because he wasn't really quite aware, and he was so confused. So this particular device, had I found this, a few years back, I could have probably used it, because then I could have spoken to him and asked him, hey, where are you at, and what are you doing? Can you see what's around you? Tell me, so I can kind of narrow down, the pathway to locating you. But instead, I ended up having to literally ring his cell phone well over 20 times before he realized that he needed to pick it up. Why? Because it was on vibrate mode. So he wasn't really quite aware that it was vibrating in his pocket. But this particular device is great because not only does it come also with an SOS feature, which allows you to call for help, and the device automatically sends out the signal so that it can also pinpoint your location, and you can utilize your own cell phone to be able to track it utilizing the map. And then another nice feature of this is that it has a way for you to also to get text messaging. I think it's on the next slide. That would tell you where somebody is at, or what location they were at any given point in time. It'll create a geofencing system, so that if for whatever reason, let's say you created a perimeter, let's say for example in your own house you have a big backyard, and let's say your mom or your dad typically wanders off, but you want to keep it contained, but somehow they were able to open the gate and decide to walk out, started walking down the street. Well, if you're able to create a geofencing solution, or a geofencing area within the perimeter of your own home, this system will actually allow you to get an alert that would let you know that somebody who has the Angel Sense tracker has broken outside of that geofenced area. It'll either send you the text message or the alert that will show you where that locator or the device is at this point in time. So it's really very intuitive device, and a great technology to have, especially if you're dealing with somebody who has Alzheimer's or dementia that has a tendency to wander off. And this is the text messaging that you will get. Back then, my dad, for example, he also still drove. I think up until he was 75, and you could even monitor where that location or that device is by just seeing, if he's leaving back and forth, let's say coming to work, the system can tell you because it's a familiar place. But if he veers away or goes to any place else beyond that location or that same route, it can also tell you, which is nice. And like as you can see on the very last text message, Daniel is in a place that you have not named because you don't know the pathway. So it's a nice, really device to have. I think which really is helpful for a lot of us who are dealing with folks who have a tendency to wander off. Next, this other one actually is part of actually the same company. So Yepzon is a company that actually produces the Pocket Finder, and the Pocket Finder is yet another tracker that you can utilize, which is much smaller than the previous device that I just showed you. This one looks more like a little key fob, like a key fob for your car that starts your car, and you can track it in so many different ways. You can use a laptop or a computer to figure out where the actual device is. So you can put it in a pocket, unobtrusive. It doesn't look like anything else. It's not like big and bulky, and it actually uses the same similar technology, GPS and assisted GPS or AGPS, using the Wi-Fi Google Touch triangulation as well as cellular ID. So obviously it uses Google technology for mapping to accurately pinpoint the location of the device itself. This particular company even makes a separate device that is designed to track a vehicle. So if you're dealing with somebody who still can drive or still wants to drive, you can put a tracking mechanism in the car itself. It's a whole separate piece as well. It's not a key fob. It's an actual device that can be put into the car, so you know where the vehicle is at all times. In fact, it even sends out an update where the vehicle is at every 60 seconds. In contrast, the Pocket Finder sends out an alert and an update to the location every 10 seconds, because again, with the vehicle it's moving, it's a little bit harder to track, so hence it takes a little bit longer for it to be located when it's moving. But nonetheless, it will provide you at least with a general vicinity or where that locating device is. Similar to the other one that I showed you, it comes with a geofencing feature where you can create a virtual geofence with unlimited number of zones that person can enter and or exit, and it can be used by multiple users as well, so which is great. And just like all these other devices, you can use an app. So I can have the app and track it. Let's say my sister can track the app and track the same individual in the same locating device. So it's a really good piece to have. And the beauty of this one, like I said to you before, imagine if you're driving. So let's say even for example a teenager, right? You can see if somebody's doing 80 miles an hour, or maybe your little one is a little bit older, and you want to make sure that they're driving at a ideal speed, that they have the ability to control the vehicle. It gives you speed alerts. For some, you may not want to know how fast somebody's driving because it'll just make you a little bit more anxious to make sure that they actually get home safely. But it is a good feature to have. And similarly, again, this is becoming more and more popular. SOS signal features. In fact, some cell phones now, including some of the watches, also have SOS features where you just push one button and you can send an SOS signal, and it automatically sends out the location to make sure that they're able to find you. So this is how the technology works, again, similarly to what we have at Philips. You got multiple GPSs that are tracking each individual buttons, where you can actually track it in your cell phone, your tablet, your computer, and any place else, and it'll pinpoint the closest location and or Wi-Fi access points. As you can see in some of these big buildings, even the little buildings, it's utilizing all the different ways in order to track the system where it's at, including GPS. And you're probably wondering how much some of these things cost. So this particular Pocket Finder, the one that looks like a key fob, is about $159 for one key fob. You do have to pay, just like anybody else, monthly monitoring fees. I believe in this particular device it's $12.95 monthly on top of purchasing the hardware itself. And the one that's for the vehicle, it's a little bit more expensive because it uses 3G technology, and probably a little bit more hardy because it does provide vehicle recovering services as well, kind of like LoJack, if you guys have ever used LoJack before for vehicle theft. Then the other, so then moving on, we also have another technology which actually I like, and this technology has been around for a while, which is kind of nice because it shows the effectiveness of the device itself. So Some of you may have probably seen this. It's called the Smart GPS Sole. And all it is really is it's an insert that goes into your shoe that replaces your regular insert. In this case, it's probably better utilized using uh, tennis shoes or athletic shoes, where you remove the old fitting and then slide in a new fitting on the sole. And this particular device comes with a little microchip that is embedded on the heel of the insert itself. And all you have to do is register it, and then it's good to go. Similarly, again, you can do geofencing, which is really designed for folks who wander. Now, granted, this particular device can only be useful if obviously you're wearing a pair of shoes. So if you're running around or you decide to run away with nothing but slippers or barefooted, obviously this is not going to work for you. Um, so this one has been around for, gosh, I think the last time I did this presentation was about 4 years ago, and they're still around and it's still being highly utilized. So it's an effective method of also tracking your loved one uh, for um, for somebody who deals with dementia or Alzheimer's or any kind of cognitive disability. And so there's a description of what SmartSoul looks like. It's really a nice insert that's really comfortable. I mean, even with the chip embedded on the heel, you really cannot even feel it. And so I've seen it work before, and it's very intuitive. Connects with the satellites, again with cell towers as well, and you can use the locating device as well with your cell phone. And I've also included the website just in case you need to check it out. And again, tracking it via your computer and your tablet or iPhone is the way to go. And most of us now I know utilizes cell phones in order to track. And then here's another device that I also found that is a little bit more smaller, probably one of the more powerful ones that I've seen in the market. It's called the iTrack Nano. This one is a similar device. It comes with a beacon as well. So as you can see, there's certain features that other devices may not have. While GPS is the most common technology that's embedded in a lot of these, there are some that would incorporate a beacon so that if I were to find you in a specific location, but let's say it's in an area where you have a high density of like foliage. So while I may pinpoint your location in a specific location, I still may not be able to find your exact location. So this is where beacons come in really handy because beacons will emit a signal for you to follow that sound. And as you get closer to it, it obviously becomes louder and louder, allowing you to see the subject where the device is at. So even though GPS is good, it doesn't necessarily put you right in the spot within, let's say, a 10 feet or a 3 feet vicinity. In some cases, you may have to search around even though you know that you're in the general spot. So this one comes with that. And more of these devices also are now being designed to be waterproof or water resistant. So there's a big difference between the waterproofing and the water resistant. So waterproof means that it can be submerged for a little bit longer and it can sustain at a certain depth where water cannot penetrate. And then there are some that can only handle a splash or a slight bit of moisture, but then sticking it into a water at a certain depth, for example, if you're going to be in the pool for a duration of time, may make the device fail because it's not as watertight as it may seem. So a lot of these, in this particular instance, this one is splash and waterproof, or resistant rather, with a rating of an IP67, which is similar to a lot of what you'll see like some cell phones and also some watches that are designed to resist water. And like I said, it's one of the smallest ones. And just to give you a perspective, this is what they look like. They also come in different colors. And a lot of them now also come with the a charging base where you don't necessarily have to plug it in to charge it. similar to your watch, and I believe like some phones now have the QI inductive charging systems where you put it in an inductive system and you set it on top and it charges it by itself without not even being plugged. And then this particular device has been around for quite a long time. When this first came out, called the Spot, initially this was used by skiers. I don't know if anybody of you have ever done a lot of outdoor sports, backcountry skiing, that kind of stuff. This one was highly used specifically for that purpose. That is now entering into the world of caregiving because some folks don't like certain things that can be worn. So that you can put this in your pocket, you can put it in a keychain, or you can put it in your bag wherever you might go. And Spot Gen 3 is the latest one, the latest system out of all of the ones that are out there. And again, it comes with an SOS feature, which is great. This one also does what we call a check-in, so that lets you know when you're in and out of range. So that way, anyone who's tracking you, who wants to make sure whether you've gone too far or you're within the proximity, can rest assured that you are still within reach if something were to happen. And then it has this other feature where you can put in a custom message so that you can stay in touch with somebody to let them know your whereabouts. So if you do get out of range, you can at least say, okay, I'm still fine. This is where I'm at. And then it sends out the messages. And then, lastly, this particular device has been around also for a while. Initially, when I first saw this, it was presented by a company called LoJack, but Project Lifesaver has been around for some time. It's part of a nonprofit agency that basically utilizes an old school method of tracking. While, mind you, the device that you see down on the bottom right is probably a pretty complex device. It uses like radio frequency as opposed to satellite in order to track somebody. So similar to like tracking, let's say I don't know, like a bear or any kind of wild animal. This is what they use, except they don't use the what you used to see in this Discovery Channel or Animal Planet, where you have this big old antenna. This device right here that they're using is similar to that, but a little bit more enhanced. And if I'm not mistaken, there are a lot of cities and or counties all over the state that has a Project Lifesaver program, and it's usually governed by a lot of volunteers that work with law enforcement agencies in order to assist locating somebody who could have gone missing. And this is what the device looks like. That big antenna, that Project Lifesaver antenna, is an enhanced antenna. You get these bracelets that you wear, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, some of these bracelets are actually supposed to be designed so that, kind of like when you go to the hospital and you get a tag, the only way you're going to be able to remove it is by cutting it. And so it makes it a little bit difficult for somebody who has Alzheimer's or dementia to remove it. All right, and so in respect of everybody's time, I just want to let you know what the latest technology is coming and up and coming. As you probably know, just most recently, actually, Apple has released their brand new watch, which is a nice wearable technology that can be designed also for your loved ones. Especially this technology is going to be bringing in the aspect of EKG monitoring, and it also does have fall detection technology as well. So look for that to come about in the next few months. And again, it'll let you know if you're having, a different heartbeat, if it skips a beat or not, which is kind of nice. And then, but while Apple may be the latest one to come out with this thing and it looks nice, the EKG technology has been around for a while. Similarly, this particular device called Hilo has been doing it for some time. In fact, Hilo is going to be bringing in an addition or enhancement to this technology that can also monitor your A1C levels. So if you're diabetic, it can monitor your blood sugar levels. And similarly, Samsung is in the market doing the same thing, but you have to use an app along with their watch as well. So just a few resources for you to check out in case you're interested in any of the things that you've seen here today. I'll have Dahlia put this also on recording so you can look at it for future use. And if anybody has any questions that they may want to ask, feel free to do that now. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Faraday. I'm sorry I actually sent you that message. I was like, oh, I hope he doesn't lose his concentration now.
No, no, no.
Okay. That was very informative. There was a lot of information, so I know it's hard to squeeze all that in 30 minutes.
Yep.
Very helpful. Does anybody have any questions? If you guys have any questions, please type it in a little message box. And if not, this is going to be up on our website, the Caregiver Coalition website, and it can be available for everybody to view it later and think about the questions. And I'm sure Faraday would be more than happy to answer to some questions later. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Just send it on through, and or send in your emails, and I will be more than happy to answer you back. If not, you can, like I said, always reach Dahlia for any questions, and we can follow up there as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's give a couple minutes
All right.
and see if anybody has a question. If not, thank you.
All right.